For 6 years, I've helped hundreds of women build a body they love and keep the weight off for good. But even with the perfect plan, which has the perfect training in nutrition protocols, there is this one thing that's holding most people back. It keeps you stressed, unhappy, and blinds you from your actual progress. Throughout my career of running my own training department in the most reputable gym chain in North America, and now running my own coaching company, this has been proven right every single time. And that one thing is judging your progress solely by the number you see on the scale. And I know it sounds counterintuitive, but if your goal is to lose fat and keep it off for life, the scale is not the best way to track your progress. So in this video, I'll explain why using a scale to measure your progress is such a terrible idea and share some reliable and simple ways to track your progress instead. First, let me explain why focusing solely on the scale is a bad idea, and I might ruffle some feathers on this one. The number you see on the scale doesn't say anything about the way you look, and to prove it to you, all these women you see on the screen weigh the exact same in both of these photos. I'll share how they made the transformation in a second, but coming back to the point, when you step on a scale, it is just a machine spitting out a random number, and it doesn't have the ability to separate between muscle and fat. Muscle is more dense and it takes up less space, and for that same reason, muscle weighs more than fat. That's exactly what you see on the photos before. The scale might say they are on the heavier side, but in real life, they look way thinner than you expect. And what's even fascinating is that your weight can fluctuate several times during the day because of hormonal changes, hydration, and even from the food you consume. So in simple terms, if you wake up in the morning and weigh yourself and the scale shows 150 pounds, by the end of the night or even by the evening, if you weigh yourself again, it might show you that your weight went up from 150 to even 160. And let me tell you what's even crazier. If you weigh yourself at the same time, under the same conditions, on the same scale, first thing in the morning, even after you go to the bathroom, your weight can still fluctuate 1 to 2%. That being said, it gets even better. How many of you thought you're overweight just because you checked your BMI? Up until that point, you were perfectly fine. But right after seeing that number, you felt worse than ever before. Well, I don't know about you, but let me say it from my experience. From the time when I was direct in the gym to now running my own company, I'd say I had the privilege of having thousands of consultations. In all of them, at least 40% of women were scared because they ended up in overweight category just because they checked their BMI. And as a result, they made some bad decisions on their training and nutrition protocols, which was working perfectly fine at the start, but later ended up shooting themselves on the foot. For those who don't know, BMI is just an inaccurate way to determine if you're healthy in proportion to your height and weight. To make it even simple, let me explain from a male perspective. As you can see on the screen, by just comparing the ratio between the height and weight, they both ended up in the obese category. But in reality, they look totally different in real life. When the person on the left has 80% of fat filling their 200 pounds, the person on the right has 80% of muscle filling their 200 pounds. Even though by now you've realized how relying on the weight scale is such a terrible idea, but let me explain how this can affect you in real life situations. There is two absolute worst scenarios. When your body is not predisposed to exercise, you have a higher chance of building muscle. For example, if you just started exercising or just got back to exercising after taking a break, this new intensity is not something your body is used to, which means you have a higher chance of building muscle than usual. And as you already know, muscle weighs more than fat. So all of a sudden, when you start working out, the scale might not reflect the results that you're expecting, even if you're actually losing fat. And this is just from the strength training. We haven't even taken into account of hormonal changes and water retention. So keeping in mind of all of these situations, when you start going to the gym and at the same time, when you see the scale staying the exact same, most people think they're doing something wrong and starts panicking like a time bomb, which will eventually lead to the one thing that most people are good at, which is cutting down foods and eating less than a 5-year-old toddler. Yes, it will help you lose weight faster, but eating less than a 5-year-old is your golden ticket to priming your body to gain double the weight back in the near future. I don't want to go too much into that topic since I want to keep it focused on better ways to track your progress. And I know it sounds counterintuitive that eating less makes it more likely for you to gain weight in the near future. So if you want to learn more about that, I have so many videos on the channel and I'll put the link in the description. if you want to check that out. Even though in this video, I'm sharing the most effective and efficient way to track your progress, the number one reason why most women get stuck is because their training and nutrition were never aligned with their goals and lifestyle to begin with. And that results in you spinning your wheels, doing all the hard work only to see little to no progress and end up exactly where you got started. So, if you want us to do 90% of the planning for you and build a custom routine tailored to your goals and lifestyle, making it easy for yourself by having everything set up, and all you have to do is follow the plan and get the results, go below this video, fill out a super short application, and let's have a conversation on how we can help you the best. The second scenario is that while going through the weight loss phase, if you get too obsessed over the scale, you'll find it super hard to convince yourself to gain muscle right after the diet. In order to make it easier for yourself to keep your hard-earned results, aka keep the weight off, you have no option left but to build significant amount of muscle right after the diet. But 70% of the time, since you got so addicted of seeing the scale go down, most people talk themselves out of building muscle, which will keep them permanently stuck of trying to lose the same 20 pounds over and over and over again. As I've been in the fitness industry and helping women over 6 years, every single time our team has to do a whole lecture to help them shift gears and get into a building phase where they solely focus on gaining lean muscle tissue. Now that we know the problem, here are some ways you can fix it. Weigh yourself at the same time every single day. Ideally before eating breakfast in an empty stomach and after going to the washroom. Once you do that for a week, take the total, divide it by 7 and calculate the average. After that, repeat the same process for the following week. Now, if your average of week 2 is less than week 1, well then, that means you're in a calorie deficit and you're losing weight. For example, if these are the measurements from week 1 and the average comes down to 150.8 and these are the measurements from week 2, when you compare both weeks, if your current week's average is less than the last one, that itself confirms that you're in a calorie deficit and you're losing weight. Now, by doing the weekly average method, you'll gradually stop caring about what you see on the scale, and as a result of you not stressing and not making unwanted emotional decisions like cutting down your calories, you will have a peaceful and effective fat loss. Now that we covered the weekly average method, the next two are super easy. Number 1 on the list is body measurements. Take a regular measuring tape and measure your waist, hips, chest, and thighs. And the reason being is body measurements are much more reliable than what you see on the scale. They won't have massive fluctuations like the scale and allows you to predictably track your fat loss progress by focusing on individual body parts. Now, the second on the list is taking progress pictures. Right after you took the body measurements for the week, set up your phone on a tripod, or even if you don't have one, stack up some books, keep it on a table, or even use a shelf, or even if you don't have anything, just take a mirror selfie. And when you're taking the photo, I want you to capture it from 3 angles. 1 facing the front, 1 facing the side with your arms parallel to the ground, and the last but not least, facing the back. The ideal goal is to get a full body shot, at least from head to your thigh. So it doesn't matter how you set up the camera as long as you're getting a full body shot. The reason being, even if you're tracking your weekly averages, there's going to be certain weeks where you won't lose weight. And certain weeks, you might even gain a pound or 2. So in that situation, instead of you panicking, I want you to take the progress pictures and compare it. If you can clearly see the changes in your body, like your midsection is getting tighter, the fat around the back is getting reduced, that's a sign that you're on the right path and also a green signal for you to keep doing what you're already doing. So now you have more than one data points to make decisions on your fat loss journey. And keep in mind, the more data you can consider before making a decision, the more likely you are to achieve your dream body and the less likely you are to make the wrong decision. Even if you didn't take away anything from this video, let this be the one thing you remember. Beyond all the things I've explained in this video, let me share a perspective based on my experience of helping hundreds of women build a body and lifestyle where they no longer have to diet. If your goal is to have more energy, feel amazing, look more defined, and fit back into your old clothes, the earlier you can detach yourself from the number on the scale, the easier it makes it mentally for you to make that transformation a reality. Make your goal to be in a leaner body at a heavier body weight, and that will help you keep the results more than 90 days.